Hello, this is going to be an introduction to vectors and vector addition. Vectors are a kind of a strange math idea that we use to show something that can have both a size and a direction. And so we use arrows to show those things. So to introduce you here to your first vector, we're just going to pick a dot to be kind of the middle in here. And our first vector might be like up 3. There you go. We'll label that one as F. We're going to pretend like these are forces because that's how we're going to use them. We'll label that one as F1. And I can take that vector and I can add it to another vector that might go in a different direction. In fact, we'll put one in the opposite direction. We'll have this guy right here. We'll label this one F2, and that is going to be a down 5 vector. So it probably makes a little bit of sense to you that up would be positive and right would be positive, left would be negative, and down would be negative because of the way that we normally work things on the coordinate system in math class. So if we have up 3 and down 5 and we add those two together, we oftentimes will draw what's called the sum vector as a dotted vector, and the sum in this case is down 2. Does that make sense? So up 3 would be positive 3, down 5 would be negative 5. So if you add those together, the result is negative 2. That's how we get that sum vector there. Okay, so let's do something a little bit more complicated because it involves 2 dimensions. So let's go back to that same first vector that we had before. So we're going to go up 3. Okay, we'll call that one force 1. And in this case, instead of having force 2 go in the exact opposite way, we'll have force 2 go to the left. All right. Now let me show you kind of like a way that, so you might be, this is a little bit weird to think about, like how do I add up and left together, and I'm going to show you. So one of the ways I like to think about this is mathematically. This is maybe a good way to start, and then pretty soon you won't even need to use these tables anymore. So force 1 has got an up and down part that is positive 3, whereas force 2 has got no up and down part at all. That's 0 for force 2. Force 1 has got 0 for left and right, but force 2 has got negative 4 for left. And so we call the total force, this is the Greek letter, that letter right there, that's the Greek letter sigma, I think. Or is it epsilon? It's the one that means total. It's the force. Okay, the total force is going to be up and down is going to be plus 3, and left and right is going to be negative 4. So when we draw in the total vector here, we have to have one that goes up 3 and left 4. So I'm going to kind of find that spot here, and so my total sum of these two vectors is one that goes vertically 3 dots and to the left 4 dots. So if I add together the red arrow and the blue arrow, the result is I get this sum that is the green arrow. Make sense? We're going to come back and look at this one other way in just a second, but let's do like a humdinger here first. Well, I don't know if I'd call it a humdinger, but the hardest one we'll look at so far. Okay, so let's have one that goes up 4 and over 1. So we're going to make one that looks like that. We'll call that one force 1. And we'll make one that goes down 2 and left 2. We'll call that one force 2. Okay? So let's try to add these guys together. So we're going to do that same thing. We'll add up the ups and downs, and we'll add up the lefts and rights for force 1 and force 2. And our goal is to figure out what's the total force going to be for these guys. Well, force 1's up and down is plus 4, and its left and right is that it goes to the right 1. Force 2 goes down 2, but it goes right 2. So when I add these guys up, my total force is going to be 2 up and 3 to the right. So I can draw that guy in like this. So let's go up 2 and over 1, 2, 3. So it's going to be something like that will be our total force. Now I want to show you something that is super neato mosquito. If you take a look at these guys and you do something called tip to tail addition, so pretty soon you won't even have to do this part on the right in the black with the math, you'll just kind of start to see these things. So if I take either of these vectors and slide them so that the tip of one is on the tail of the other, you get the answer. I could have done it the other way too. Oh boy, hang on here. No, we're right about that. I could have done it the other way too. So I could slide, let me slide this guy back down to where he belongs. I could slide the red arrow. Now the force isn't going to come with it, but you'll get the idea. So if I add the red and the blue together, it shows me how the green should be drawn because I've added the tip, the tail of one onto the tip of the other. Let's go back and try that on the previous two that we worked on. So you can see that here as well. If I slide this arrow up, the result is the sum, and I could have done it the other way too. I could slide this arrow over, and that result would be the sum. Let's go back to that very first one. This one, of course, is super easy. So if I put the tail on the other one, we get what that final one is going to be. So those are the easy ones you're going to do first. Okay. I am going to show you now, this one is going to be an example of maybe a little more challenging problem. So let's do one. And on this one, what we're going to do is we're going to be given two vectors, and we have to add in a third vector so that the total ends up being 0. This is like an example of when we would try to make a balanced forces for something that's moving at a constant velocity. Okay, so let's have our first vector be a force vector 1, and it's going to be left 3. And let's have our second vector go down 2 and left 1. We'll call that one force 2. Okay, now your goal here is to add in force 3. So we're going to have force 1, force 2. You're going to try and figure out what should force 3 be like so that the total force is 0 and 0. Okay, so let's quick do a little bit of math here, and then we can also think about this graphically as well using the tip to tail idea. So force 1 doesn't have any up and down, and it's -3 for its left and right. Force 2 does have some up and down. It's -2 for up and down, and its left and right is -1. Okay, so our goal now is we've got to figure out what should force 3 be like. Well, this is pretty easy when we look at this. So we can see that force 3 should probably be +2, and then the left and right should be +4. So the third vector that we really ought to draw in here to make that so that the total force is 0, we want to add in a force 3 vector that goes up 2 and right 4. So let's see here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there would be force 3. Now if we add those 3 vectors together, what we should find is that they add up to 0. Let's see if we can do it graphically here first. Ta-da! It's so neat. I mean, that's like the coolest thing you'll ever see in math class. It's so fun and easy. Let's do one that's maybe a little different. So like the last ones that you're gonna have on your little assignment for tomorrow. Okay. So when this one, what you're going to be given is you're going to be given 2 force vectors, and you're going to be given a total vector as well, and you have to add in what is the third force that would be necessary to make the total true. So that'll be force vector number 1. Let's make force vector number 2 a little different, just a little different. Okay, and then let's say we want the total to be +5. This is a total, so I'm doing it as a dotted line. That's a total force. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, I went 6. I went 5. Okay. So now, oh boy, what have I done? Hang on one second. So now what I'm going to try to do is I am going to try to, let's make our table over here. And if you find that you don't really need the table, I think that you probably will before too long, then just skip that part. Okay. But we know that the total force, we want it to be +5, straight up 5, and 0 left and right. Okay. The up and down part should be, for force 1, is going to be +2, and the left and right part is +2. For force 2, the up and down part is +3, and the left and right part is -2. Okay, so what have I done here? I don't really know. I think that I've screwed up this last part of the video, but I think you get the idea. I think what was supposed to happen here is you're given one vector, and you're supposed to figure out how to make it, how to add a blue vector onto that to make the green vector true. Well, I know that my blue vector now, and now looking over here, if I got to go from +2 to +5, this must be +3, and if I have to go from +2 to 0, this must be -2. So now I can draw in my blue vector, it'll be left 2, and it will be up 3. And so that gives me the idea that I got to draw in a vector like that so that when I add it to the red one, I get the green one. Let's just show the tip to tail quick because that's so fun. Look at that. I mean, that's just wow. Wowzers. Pretty exciting. All right. Have a good day.